Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the official JPB broadcasting channel, and welcome along to the opening round of Season 2 of the Sim Racing Collective Rookie Season. And we're here at a fantastic circuit, Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli, which has been in operation for pretty much just over 50 years. And we're here ahead of qualifying for the first of 5 rounds. It will take us here from Misano to Spa-Francorchamps, Watkins Glen, Brands Hatch, and Barcelona on the 21st of June. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, and I'm going to be ably assisted by my good friend, as I like to call him, the commentary flying Dutchman. A very good evening to Mr. Daan Pepels. Dan, good to have you back in the box, buddy.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, good evening, Alex. It's great to be back. Of course, people might know me from the P Cup series that we did a bit earlier on, I think, in the year with TSRC. But yeah, great to be back, and great to be back for the full season.
Yeah, so 5 rounds will see who will become our second ever TSRC Rookie Champion. A big thank you to Track Titan, who have come on board as a main sponsor stroke partner this year. It's a tool that helps analyse drivers' performance with automated insights. And this tool is actually being used this season to help the rookie drivers that will be competing. We've had 26 entries for this second season of the Rookie Series here on TSRC. Track Titan will also be rewarding our drivers for completing laps in all sessions using their tools. We did have a bit of a tune-up race just a week ago where Nicolas Soro, who was fastest in free practice earlier on, was first across the line ahead of Adrien Oulissin, and then Garçonnet Werner as well. But we've got a whole host of different machinery here, Dan. We've got so many different brands. We have got, of course, Weissach Stalwart, the 992 Porsche 911 GT3. But we've also, thanks to the wonderful work at Cuno Simulazioni and Assetto Corsa Competizione, that we have the Ferrari 296 GT3 on this grid. We have the good old British Stalwart, even though it's powered by a Merc lump underneath the bonnet, the Aston Martin V8 Vantage, the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo, the BMW M4, Munich's latest GT3 machinery, and also one of my favourites, the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2, and that's a bit of a noisy bit of a beast in its own right, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. All these cars, I mean, are great. Now, I do have a question for you here early on, Alex. Do you have a favorite car in terms of looks and a favorite car is in terms of sounds? Because with sounds, I have to go with the Porsche, because, you know, that flat six, just there's nothing that can beat it. In terms of looks, I'm gonna have to go with the BMW. You just can't go wrong with it. That's
actually a very good question. I'll get onto that answer as we are going into the the first few throws around this 4.226 kilometre circuit, 16 corners in all. Jonathan Panelo in the number 222 old school racing Porsche goes across the line. Nicolas Soro from the Glitch Academy, the 198 in one of a handful of Lamborghinis making their way through. So we are going to get an indication in the next lap or two around this circuit. The first lap time comes in, and it is from the number 63. That is Stuart Pryor, who's one of the only seasoned rookie according to the classification. If you haven't seen our previous listings, you can actually go onto the sim grid to find out about the previous championship standings and also who's entered into this particular season here on TSRC. I'm going to have to say that, well, Nicolas Soro has just gone fastest in the 198 Lamborghini, 1 minute 34.362, and he is a country mile ahead of the number 62 Porsche 911 GT3 992 of Kevin Derigot by the best part of what was 1.6 seconds, but then you've got Lunatic Braga from Austria goes second, so Lamborghini 1-2 on home soil. In terms of noise, I am going to go V10. I am going to go Lamborghini because it just absolutely howls like a banshee. In terms of looks, I'm going to go with you on the Porsche as well. So there's a little bit of difference of opinion, but we can agree to disagree, can't we, Dan?
Oh, for sure. I mean, especially here at Italy, if maybe if you don't go with a Porsche in terms or a Lamborghini in terms of sound, you might not be able to exit the circuit anymore. No, joking, of course. No, the Lamborghini, it sounds great. It just looks so aggressive too. And every time, especially when I'm racing and I see a Lamborghini in my mirrors, I'm like, okay, the fight is on immediately.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But the lap times are starting to decrease as the track evolves. We've got 9.5 minutes of this 15-minute qualifying session. For those wondering about the format, it's a 15-minute qualifying session, then we have a half-hour race. There's a 10-minute pit window. There is a mandatory fixed refueling time of 25 seconds. So even if you fill the car to the brim and only put 1 litre worth of fuel in, which is what you can do on ACC, you still have to stay in the pits for 25 seconds. You can opt for a mandatory tyre change, which will work within that window of 25 seconds. As here is Gusman Werner in the number 33 Porsche, currently running at the top 5 at this moment, who are covered by just under 1.4 seconds. We've also got, so looking at the way things are at the moment, especially with the timing tower that you all can see on the left-hand side of your screens, well, these are basically all AM drivers. And the benefit of the TSRC Rookie Series is to help introduce people into sim racing, but also to help them improve and look to go further afield into more top-tier competitions, especially with the Season 4 of the GT3 Series that we currently have going underway. But this is one car I have been waiting to see on Assetto Corsa Competizione, of course, the 296 GT3. I have to say, I'm actually quite impressed on how they were able to convert a car that's normally 1,000 horsepower as a hybrid on the road to a car that still looks absolutely menacing as a GT3 car.
I love the look of it. And of course, it got its first victory at the Green Hell. I think it took the first victory for a Ferrari in a long, long time, and the first victory for the Fricadelli team in the 24 hours of the Nürburgring. So, I mean, the car is proven to be quick. However, there has been already some talks about some BOP. However, Roland, I mean, a bit deep down in the turn 1, let's put it like that.
Yeah, that was into the back of one of the Aston Martins. There's only a handful on this grid. So, might have been possibly, I'm not too sure who it was, but we've only got a smattering. We've got 4. It might have been Catherine Rosie, who's just ended back up in the pit. She's not set a lap time quite yet, as we're past the halfway mark into qualification here at this wonderful circuit. Has been part of the Fanatec GT World Challenge powered by AWS since 2015 and actually heads back to the circuit this coming July. A little bit of history for you folks out there. This is just the historian, and I really really do have. I love my history, don't I, Dan? I always like researching bits and pieces.
Yeah, you do. For the people who don't know, Alex and I, of course, regularly have a chat off screen too, and like every time you call Alex, for one, he never forgets anything. If you tell him something, he will remind till the day he'll be buried. He will never ever forget anything you tell him. So yeah, the man is just like the IQ you've got and the brain power to remember all of this. It's so amazing. But yeah, your history, people just love it, and especially at this track. I mean, it's not the first time we've been here, and it's a proven ground for great racing.
Yeah, Raffaele Marcello actually holds the fastest lap in a GT3 car, set last year at the Fanatec GT World Challenge Sprint Cup in a Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo on a 1:31.939, and Nicolas Soro is about 2 seconds off of that. Lovely to see the resplendent livery from Jensen Team Rocket RJN. The number 22 McLaren 720S run by Freddie Coleman Evans, currently sitting P12 at the moment. 2.3 seconds off of the pace, but Nicolas Soro in the number 198 ahead of Lunatic Braga, the Austrian driver, in the number 48. Jonathan Panello comes around the final corner at Curva Misano. The 222 Porsche currently sitting in 4th place. Wondering if he might improve on that lap, as it looks like Lafelle has gone up into 9th place in the BMW. And that is the number 5 from France, one of the many rookie drivers. At the moment, we haven't had a lap time set by one particular car. That's the Aston Martin V8 Vantage, the number 54 of Adam Brown, who has had lap times completed, but unfortunately have had them disallowed due to exceeding track limits. We're coming into the final 4.5 minutes of the qualification session, and there is Catherine Rosie in the United Sim Team 666 car. United Sim Team run by, if I remember correctly, that is Yvonne Houfler, who runs that with Sophie Aronwen. Two very lovely people who I actually met in person at the ADAC Sim Racing Expo. You can see the Pride flags on the end of the wing plates on the rear of the car, as Catherine makes her way through into one of the tighter parts of the circuit. But this circuit here at Misano, Dan, is very, very technical. There's a lot of lengthy straights, you know, coming down from Curva Misano into the Variante del Parco, which is the sort of like the really, really big chicane that you get here. And you've got to be really, really on point to get through on another vehicle. But then Curvone, which is at the top part of the circuit, is one of the most fearsome corners. It's turn 11, and people are going to be going through that at least 235 kilometers an hour in 5th, maybe 6th gear, whilst trying to overtake. And I've seen some very, very robust maneuvers heading into turns 12 and 13, which leads into Curva del Carro. So there is a lot that this track can provide you with in terms of a challenge as a sim racer.
Now, I don't know exactly, because we haven't seen these cars out yet. Curvan or Curvone, is it flat? I expect it to be flat.
Yes.
The parts after that, though, once you go down on the turn 12 is easy flat, but you have to set up for 13. 13 is a tricky one, though, because it leads all the way down to 14, and you have to get it right. If you do go wide in turn 13, and you do go 4 tires over the wide line, it will take away your lap time. So your lap time will be deleted once you do that. Just like that, and that, I think, for Stewart, will delete his lap time.
Yeah, good to see Phil across the pond saying, Dan, Alex, are these drivers the same as in iRacing, not got their racing license yet? Well, it is about that. There's always going to be an entry point. We have got a yellow flag out on the circuit with 2.5 minutes still to go, which has just been retracted. So we will see. Yeah, it's a case, as I said, it's an entry point. It really is an entry point to get into racing. And with a platform such as Assetto Corsa Competizione, which is the official game used by SRO Esports through all their respective esport championships, and is also part and parcel of the Fanatec GT World Challenge, because they actually have LAN on-site events in the Fanatec arena. Yeah. So, but at the moment, it is still a Lamborghini 1-2. Porsche then rounds out the remainder of the top 8. Mr. Pryor. Stuart Pryor is currently 9th in the number 63 Aston Martin. And we've also got Laurent Lafella in the number 5 BMW, currently running at the top 10, covered by 1.8 seconds. Jonathan Schmidt comes out of the final corner at Curva Misano. The 777 Ferrari 296 is currently P11 at the moment, but he jumps up. Great lap time there from the 777 Ferrari. Goes in with the 1 minute 35.150. Yellow flags out again, as we see Simon Gaganski in the number 71 Audi. This sole Audi on this grid, currently sitting in 17th position, coming through Curva del Carro for what could be the penultimate time. A lot of drivers have opted to pit, but Nicolas Soro, who won the tune-up race a week ago, has really showcased his form, a 1 minute 33.815. Gaganski comes across the line. Is the Audi going to improve to the 17th? Goes P15 on a 1 minute 36.612 and pulls to the side. There's Kevin Deracourt in the 62 Old School Racing Porsche 992 GT3, currently P7 at the moment, could make some headway in the next 30 seconds. But as we know in qualifying, Dan, it's times for show, but in this championship, it's points to go with the half-hour race coming up.
It's the race where you need to be there. However, for a sprint race like this for 30 minutes, you are going to make it so much harder for yourself if you do start down in P23 to come back to the front. So qualifying, we always say, isn't important or isn't so important. And I kind of agree with that, but I also disagree, because if you put yourself in first, technically the only thing you would need to do is keep the rest behind you. You don't need to overtake anyone. And let's be honest, Alex, we both know that defending is considerably easier than attacking. However, if you defend in the wrong places, you still are going to put yourself as an easy target to overtake. So still, it does take some skill to defend properly, but it is a lot easier than attacking.
Yep, Schmidt's been dropped to 7th position. In the meantime, Deracourt's just crossed the line as the checker is out for time qualifying here in the opening round of the Sim Racing Collective Rookie Series, season number 2 here at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, Pierre Nicolas in the number 69 makes his way through Corvone at full racing speed. Turn 11 into turn 12, now hard on the brakes. You've got to really rotate the car through turn number 13 and then hard on the anchors once again. Tight on the apex through 14 before you go into the left-hand kink here at 15 and build the speed heading into Curva Misano. So Nicolas Pierre is going to come out of the 16th and final corner, runs a little bit wide. Is that going to curtail the 69's run to the checkered? That is going to put him P3 on the road, and that is the end of qualifying. So Nicolas Soro takes pole position for the opening race out of 5 here in the TSRC Rookie Series season number 2. And then it is Lunatic Braga in 2nd position. Nicolas Pierre and Jonathan Panhalo round out the top 4. Deracourt and Karaziak round out the top 6 positions, 4 of which occupied by Porsche. The front row, however, on home soil, Sant'Agata Bolognese represented with 2 Lamborghinis. Good work by Jonathan Schmidt in the number 777 Ferrari 296 GT3, taking 7th. And then we've got Werner Usla. Good work by Stuart Pryor in the number 63 Aston Martin V8 Vantage to put it P10. Then it's Lafella, Valentin David, and then we've got Coleman Evans, Williams, Gaganski rounds out the top 15 in the Audi. We've got about a couple of minutes to go before the green flag waves. We will have a rolling start here at Misano. Then it's we've got also the number 14, the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo of Nikita Ronin. Then we've got Marincello, and then also Tomasz Klos. Tomasz Klos was one of 2 returning drivers from season 1, having placed 16th in the championship last year. And we've also got the likes of Roland Ciclodi that has also opted for the 296 GT3, starts 19th. And we got the number 4. Well, the number 4 of that is going to be Craig Hewlett from the UK in the BMW M4. Then we've got Adam Brown followed by, rounding out the grid, Robert Blasher from Poland, and also we've got Catherine Rosie from the USA in the 666. That is your starting grid ahead of 30 minutes of racing. And the good thing is, Dan, is that with a 30-minute sprint race, with a mandatory pit stop where you have to be in the refueling bay for 25 seconds, the strategies are endless in this particular sort of situation when you look at it.
It opens up so much possibilities to do something different than your rival is doing. It opens up the possibility to put 2-3 laps of fuel in and pit 2-3 laps into the race. Just get out of all the melee, get out of the fight, pit early. But then that has, well, the disadvantage of you having to make your way through the field again.
Yeah.
So there are so many different things that you can go for here. And like you said, that's the great thing about the mandatory pit stop in a 30-minute sprint race. I do want to talk about, however, about those two Lamborghinis at the front of the grid as they now pull off for their warm-up lap. It's a Lamborghini front row lockout. Does that have anything to do with BOP? Because we also see the Porsches that are up there. Ferraris are struggling. The only BMW, or the quickest BMW, down a P11.
Yeah, I think BOP always has something to do with that. Assetto Corsa Competizione, you know, we always know that there are regular updates when BOP fixes come into play or BOP adjustments. You know, they have to put it in line. It is the official game of the Stefan Rattel organisation, so there are always developments ongoing. You know, Assetto Corsa Competizione and SRO have a very, very close affiliation, you know, this being the official game. And the good thing is we have such a great variance of tracks as well for this 5-round calendar, which concludes on June 21st at Barcelona. You know, we've got Spa, one of the most iconic circuits, which will this year host the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. It'll be the 75th anniversary of the event having been held in the Ardennes Forest.
We'll be racing on the week of that event too, if I'm correct.
No, we won't. We'll be We'll be about a month ahead of it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the first weekend of July that the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa is actually happening. But also at the moment in real life, the 24-hour CrowdStrike 24 Hour Spa test days are actually taking place as we speak. So, but yeah, Watkins Glen, another great circuit, part of the GT World Challenge Americas side of things. Brands Hatch, known to many, and quite recently Maxime Martin and 9-time MotoGP world champion Valentino Rossi picked up a second place for Team WRT just a few weeks ago. And then Circuit de Catalunya Barcelona, a halcyon track in its own right. Okay, it's known for Formula 1 testing, but it is a true stalwart for GT3s as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I do want to talk about Valentino for just for 2 seconds. It's just crazy how the man can go from 2 to 4 wheels and still be quick. That just tells you the racing talent that he's got, you know, and he isn't only capable of doing it on 2, but he's also capable of doing it on 4 wheels. So yeah, a great person within the world of motorsports.
So the field is now going to start bunching up. It's going to be an all Lamborghini front row with Soro versus Braga in first and second position. Then it's Nicola and Panhalo, row 2. Derico and Karziak, row 3. Schmidt, Werner, Oslan and Pryor. That's your top 10. Out of the final corner, the drivers will be restricted to a maximum speed in the rolling start formation. They've got to get into start formation very, very quickly, because very shortly the green light and the green flag will wave. Green flag is in the air. We're underway. Good start by Soro, who gets a drive through for a potential jump start. So is Nicola. In the meantime, he fires it up the inside of Braga, going through into Variante del Parco on the opening tour on this circuit. There's Karasiak trying to go side by side with the 62 of Dericourt. Panhalo just in front. There is also the 777 of Schmidt not too far behind. But, oh, the old school racing cars nearly clatter into each other as they head through Ansa Curva del Rio for the first time. That was the 777 of Schmidt that might have just got caught up in all of that. And Uslar all the way down into 11th position. Adam Brown up to P20 has just got past. That was round the outside of Catherine Rosie. That was incredibly brave by the number 54 Aston Martin, who's now closing in on Nikita Ronin. But Catherine Rosie looks to fire it up the inside herself. Brown drifts wide, and that is going to definitely get him one of his one of his first of 3 strikes, because after 3 strikes going off track, you will get a drive-through penalty for exceeding track limits too often. Jonathan Schmidt going side by side with Coleman Evans, and that's going to be through. Is that going to be through into Cavani? It is, and the 296 was up the inside of the 720S, down into turn number 12, now into turn 13. Hard on the brakes goes Jonathan Schmidt up the inside of the McLaren. That was a neat move there. Jonathan Schmidt was absolutely possessed on that one, wasn't he?
He was. However, at the front of the field, Nicola Soro, that drive-through is going to ruin his race, and I don't think anyone will be able to come back from a drive-through like that. He has to make a pit stop, and I think it's Nicholas already into pit road. That is the 69 Porsche, who's also got a drive-through. He's dropping down the order faster than a stone thrown in a pond. So there we go. Got our...
Yeah, interesting battle here between the 2 old-school racing teammates, Panhalo and Derricourt. This is over P3. Karasiak and the 313 Porsche is not too far behind this battle. And you've also got Gaston Werner running at the top 6, followed by Usla in the number 1 car. Lauren Laferla in the BMW, now up into 8th position, having started 11th. Now, if Nicolas Soro does not serve that drive-through within 3 laps, that is an automatic. That penalty is going to be even more stringent, because that will be a stop-go 30 based on the algorithms that Assetto Corsa Competizione put onto these cars, as the leader is making his way through turn 12, hard into the braking zone at turn number 13. So what Soro is trying to do is to mitigate that drive-through penalty as quickly as possible. Panhalo goes a little bit, that was Derricourt going a little bit wide going into turn 13, nearly opened the door for Karasiak to get through for 4th place. Werner's not too far behind either, and he's bringing along Usla. In the meantime, that's 6th and 7th. And fastest lap of the race at this moment might have, I'm not too sure who that's gone to. Well, it's Nicolas Soro at the moment. There's Derricourt being chased down by Karasiak, as this is going to be the last opportunity. Usla up the inside of Werner. That was through into Variante del Parco. 26.5 minutes still to go. But yeah, Nicolas Soro's got to pit after the end of this lap, otherwise that penalty is going to be significantly more stringent. Like I said, it'll be straight away. It'll be a stop-go slam dunk. You know, stop-go 30. I've seen that before, where a drive-through. It may be contested post-race, however, because there's no live stewarding on this. But however, the drivers can put in reports post-race. But Gaston Werner, who is 2nd in the warm-up race. There's Tomasz Klos closing in on Nikita Ronin for 16th position. The BMW is going to pull alongside the Ferrari, the LE488. Up the inside goes Tomasz Klos for 16th position. That was a nice little move there from the Beamer.
It was a great move up the inside. However, now has to look that the Ferrari's not going to get back at him. However, he gets that one done. 13, BMW up a position, up into P16, making his way up the order slowly but surely. Soro, as you said, has to pit at the end of this lap, else he will, get that stop-go. When he is going to pit at the end of this lap, he's not going to, of course, risk that stop-go risk. Of course.
Oh, he just hit the barriers.
Yeah,
he just hit the barriers coming into the pit lane. Oh, not only has he got, that's insult to injury now, so drive through for a jump start, and now gets the clobbers the entry into pit wall on the right-hand side. So hopefully that's not damaged the steering. Nikita Ronin in the Conquest Racing 488 GT3 Evo, trying to close back down on Tomasz Klos, but I'm just keeping an eye on Catherine Rosie. She's just put in another good lap. She did a 1:38 last time around. Nicolas Soro is going to rejoin, I would imagine, very, very soon indeed. There's Valentin David in the number 19 Porsche. Now, where is... and Soro has dropped way out of the top 15. Valentin David, that is going to be Brown trying to go around the outside. And there is Manoncello, the Brazilian. That is a yellow flag. Oh my goodness me. And Ciclotti didn't even make it onto the server. Manicello, the Brazilian, in the number 16, has just lost the back end of the Lamborghini completely. And is now going to lose out. That is going to be the number 69 getting through. My goodness me. It just goes to show is now Karasiak battling away with Derrickle. This is for P3. He was trying to go up the inside through Curvone. Tried it through turn 12. The back end was trying to step out on the 313 Porsche. This is bringing Adrien Ousselin back into the fray on this one. So this is the battle for the second position on the grid. Whereas we've got Lunatic Braga leading the way and has got a comfortable gap. That was 1.8 seconds as they come across the line. It's now 2.8. So whilst they're battling away, Braga's got a brilliant opportunity to just pull that gap. As, yeah, I mean, you look at Nicola Soro. After that drive-through, that has cost the Italian big time. He's all the way down in, what is that, 18th position. And Ousselin looking up the inside of Karasiak. No room in the inn there, I'm afraid, for the number 9 car. But yeah, it just goes to show how dominant these Porsches are in terms of their stranglehold on the race. But it is a Lamborghini leading the way.
Lamborghini ahead of 5 Porsches, then the BMW and the Aston Martin. The 1 lap pace from the BMW, not quite there, down on P11, but the race pace for the BMW, very much, Alex, looking a lot stronger. And that's where you need to be there. The points are given during the race here. Stuart Pryor chasing down that BMW, Bavaria ahead of him. So the BMW and the Aston Martin during the race, both are there.
Yep, the Aston Martin, it's always been a stalwart. It's been a pretty good car in terms of race pace. BOP sometimes doesn't really help the car in terms of confidence when it comes to qualifying and outright speed, you know, 1 lap pace around a circuit. But in a race itself, the Aston Martin seems to be the most adaptable and comfortable car to really sort of start your career within Assetto Corsa Competizione. And Stuart Pryor has done a really good job so far. He's up to 8th from 10th position. He's closing on Laurent Lafelle, who actually started behind him on the inside of row number 6 as Ousselin trying to get the slingshot down into Variante del Parco through on the inside of Karasiak. He uses all of the curb and even the sausage runoff, sausage curbs, does not get through on the 313. Karasiak was very much anticipating a banzai maneuver from Ousselin, and Ousselin did not disappoint. I mean, he could have had the run, but Karasiak's made a mistake. Karasiak's made a mistake, and Ousselin's through for 4th position.
That's wide down into turn 4. Easily done though. If you overshoot that braking zone, you're off, because that corner on the outside is off camber. On the inside, it is on camber. So you really want the inside there. And Ousselin did have it. Karasiak though went wide. That position for Ousselin now up to P4. Can chase his way down to the Porsche out of him, the 62. I personally feel that Ousselin, after that moment that he had in the beginning where he dropped down, he's had the bit between his teeth.
Oh, he definitely has. He definitely has. As Jonathan Schmidt now closing in on Stuart Pryor. This is Aston Martin versus the Cavallino Rampante, also a car on home soil, the Ferrari 296 GT3, as they head into turn number 13 once again. Jonathan Schmidt could have been in the top 5. The car was nearly sideways through turn number 13. And he caught the slides of Jonathan Schmidt. That was well held by the number 777 296. And that has, you know, sometimes it looks great even if it's going sideways. Gabriel Marincello, the Brazilian, trying to get past. That is Robert Blanchard in the number 2 BMW. That is going through Curvone. The Lamborghini in the hands of the Brazilian at number 16 has got through, but loses the braking point. Going through into turn number 13. Manages to hold it back together for turn 14 at Curva del Carro. Some great racing. The pit window is now officially open for 10 minutes. So each driver, and Manincello goes straight into the pits to get that 25-second mandatory refueling stop out of the way. They've got to be at 50 kph or below, otherwise they'll get pinged for a stop go 30. That's a standard feature of Assetto Corsa Competizione. However, in the meantime, Ousselin hasn't gotten that far away from Magic Karasiak in the 313, despite the brightly coloured Porsche having been at some points very out of control and a bit wayward coming through certain corners, especially turn 15 heading into Misano. But, you know, the way that Usman just gave Karasiak a bit of a fright going into Variante del Parco a couple of laps ago just really gave Karasiak something to think about, didn't it?
Yeah, I do stand to be corrected, however. I said at the beginning of the session, I think during qualifying, that you could put 3 laps into the car and just pit after 3 laps. That's not possible since we've got this pit window, this mandatory pit window in where you have to make a stop. You can pit after 3 laps, however, it won't count to your mandatory pit stop, so you'll have to do that pit stop during the pit window. You see some more cars tucking into pit lane to get their mandatory pit stop out of the way. It's also something that you just don't have to think about anymore. Once you have made that pit stop, it's just out of the way, and you can just continue with your race and try and chase that lap time.
Yeah, in the pits at the moment, Freddie Coleman-Evans in the number 22 McLaren, Gaston Werner in the number 33 Porsche. They're in pit lane. Then it's also, we've got Nicolas Pierrat in the number 69 Porsche, also in pit road. And as soon as they've completed their pit stops, folks, Adam Brown off the circuit, and that is at Curva Misano. He's doing a few donuts in that 54 Aston Martin. I think he's trying to get that thing into the pit lane, which he's going to do now. So as soon as everyone's finished their pit stop, folks, where it's got the amber number 1, it will turn to a green block, which means that their pit stop has been completed. That's not what Adam Brown quite wanted, as Darren Williams closing in on Gagansky. Now this is Audi versus Porsche. This is for 8th on the road. They're nearly side by side right there, and then it's the number 26 J&D Motorsports Porsche closing in on the number 71 Audi, as they've just gone through Corvone very, very quickly indeed. Oh, and big developments. Jonathan Schmidt has just been disqualified from the server, I believe. Not 100% sure why that has happened, but Jonathan Schmidt is out of this race. Panholo has pitted. Karasiak, Lafurla, they have all pitted. We still have just under 7 minutes of the pit stop window remains. Williams is going to eke this out as long as humanly possible in the number 26 Porsche, that now through the pit stop phases finds itself in 6th position. As a little bit of a touch to the back bumper of the Audi of Gagansky. So that just goes to show how quickly it can be happening. So that was very, very close between the pair. They still have 6 minutes and 30 seconds still to go. And Dan, there are going to be these drivers that are going to use the reverse of what everybody else has done. Marincello was the first one to dive into the pit lane. And you're going to see drivers like Lunatic Braga, the Austrian hero, running in the Barwell Motorsport liveried Lamborghini. You're going to see some of them like really go to the end of the wire when it comes to the pit stop phase, aren't you?
Now, I think, Alex, an unwritten rule, if you're in first, is you stay out as long as possible, because what you're eventually going to do, or if you do pit early, is you're going to put yourself into traffic, which is going to lose you lap time. You have to overtake cars. It's going to put yourself in just a dangerous position where you don't really need to be in. So if you're in the lead, it's just an unwritten rule that you stay out as long as possible. Here we go. Both the old school cars coming in. They pit from P2 and 3. This is Decord and Uslan, who have both come into pit lane at the same time. Now it's going to be interesting. This is going to be a fight on pit road and a fight in between the teammates.
Uslan's going to have the advantage because his pit box was a little bit shorter of a run down pit lane. Robert Blanchard in the number 2 BMW M4 GT3 currently finds itself in 10th position, is the last of the drivers that have yet to pit. So Derrico and Uslan will be very shortly finishing their 25-second mandatory fuel stop as Blanchard goes into pit lane. There's Uslan at the moment. They're dropping down. He's off his jacks. He's now going. And what's going to be the run between him and Derricourt? It is going to be Uslan. Uslan jumps Derricourt in the pit lane and gets in front of his teammates. So you can now be guaranteed, folks, with lap 10 underway. I've just noticed the indicated speed by Lunatic Braga going through into Corvone, 250 kilometers an hour. That is incredible pace through the fastest part of this circuit. Uslan and Dericourt rejoin, and that is in front of Karasiak. Karasiak has now split the two cars, nearly goes into the back bumper of Uslan into the braking zone into Variante del Parco. Braga has decided to pit with 4 minutes to go. Still all to play for here, though, Dan, because Karasiak is the Porsche meat in an old-school sandwich right now, as he's looking up the inside of Uslan. That was very close and deep between the two. Nearly got the job done, but Uslan getting a little bit switchy coming out of pit lane, and also on this first lap for these two cars.
Now, Uslan has been quick, so it's interesting to see what he can do now. Now he's virtually, I would say, up into P2. I can chase down the race leader. That's, I think, why Braga has come in so early in this pit window, because let's be honest, if he would have been comfortable leading, then he would have stayed out. Oh, that's sideways again from Karasiak.
Uslan's got a drive-through. Uslan's got a drive-through. I would imagine that's going to be for track limits.
Yeah, for sure.
That's 3 strikes and you're on your final warning. You do track excursion number 4, and that is a slam dunk drive-through penalty. So Uslan is now the cork in the bottle. He will know that it'll indicate it on his heads-up display on his screen setup on his simulator. And now Karasiak goes around the outside. Oh, they have a touch. Oh, and Uslan was just trying to keep it on the racing line. Karasiak just sent it like nobody's business into Variante del Parco, and then all of a sudden, Uslan is the one that cops the brunt of the sharp end of it, because Karasiak was around the outside. It was not going to happen in a month of Sundays. Panhalo, in the meantime, is going after Braga, and at the moment, Craig Hewlett in the number 4 car is leading this race, but he's the last one to do a mandatory pit stop. So it's going to be a battle between Panhalo and Lunatic Braga for the overall race victory, with just 12 minutes on the timer remaining.
There's traffic in the way of the forward. The Aston Martin, I think that's the Aston Martin of Rosie. So she's going to get out of the way as soon as possible for these lead cars. There we go, pulls over to the left-hand side. However, not the ideal situation there for Braga. Slows him down a little bit, just a little bit, that Panhalo can catch up in that 222. And now the Porsche is, all over the place on the back or the bumper of that Lamborghini.
Yeah, it just goes to show how quickly things can turn on its head as Craig Hewlett now enters pit lane. Dericourt closing in on Karasiak, and Uslan will have another couple of laps to try and serve that drive-through penalty that will drop the Frenchman out of the top 10 by the end of this race. And Karasiak, I think, in my honest opinion, I don't say this very often, Uslan's just got into the pit lane before I forget it, so I'll just say that. Karasiak, I think, really had no real business being on the outside of Uslan, because he just turned in, he would have known that Uslan was there and just still went for it. But Dericourt is hell-bent on getting past the number 313 for what will be the final step on the virtual rostrum, as Adam Brown keeps the car out of the way. It's a great bit of driving there from the 54. Just when you see faster traffic, you're going to see the blue flags, and you're also going to see these cars coming up very, very quickly indeed. This is going to allow possibly the opportunity for Gosson and Werner to close on in and make it a 3-car scrap for the final step on the rostrum, as the pit lane is now set to close in 20 seconds. Everyone out on circuit has served their mandatory pit stop, which is 25 seconds, mandatory to refuel. You can opt to put on tyres. As Dericourt going through into turn number 13. Pit lane closes in 2-1. Pit window is now officially closed. It's a 10-minute sprint to the checkered flag here at Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli, named posthumously after the passing of number 58, aka Supersik, of the Malaysian MotoGP a few years ago. Gagansky battling away with Coleman Evans. This is a great little battle between Woking and Ingolstadt heading into turn number 14 at Cova del Carro. Freddie Coleman Evans really giving Simon Gagansky something to think about. 2 pedigree cars in their own right in GT3s, and Coleman Evans is putting on one hell of a defensive display ahead of the number 71 Audi.
driver, that Audi has got something to play with. Of course, the 313 of Kaishak still tries to make his way to pass Paolo. It's not an easy pass. Would you have gone, though, for that move if you were Kaishak, if you would have known that Ruslan had that drive-through? Because it will have come up on his heads-up display. He will have known that he had that drive-through. So would you have gone for that move if you knew that he had to go into approach again within at least 3 laps?
I would have not chanced it, because the thing is, first of all, Usman's going to file a report against that, because saying, well, look, I had the racing line, and Karajak could argue that and say, well, I was more than halfway alongside him.
He was halfway ahead of him.
He was slightly ahead of him. But the thing is, sometimes it's always dependent on if Karajak was turning in and turning a bit too much, he might have been the one that instigated that incident. But that's not down to us here in the commentary box to discuss. Well, we can discuss it, but it's not our decision to make. However, Karajak has lost out to Dereco, who's in 3rd position, and I'm keeping an eye on what's happening between Braga and Panhalo. There's Craig Hewlett. He's battling away with Williams. Now, this is for the bottom position of the top 10. Hewlett keeping it high, wide and handsome. Round through into turn 12. That's brave, and he's got through. As he made it stick, that is ridiculous, but Williams is looking back up the inside into cover Del Caro. Craig Hewlett was completely flat shattered sideways through turns 12 and 13. He held on. I think he might need to check his underwear after that one, because I don't know how he was feeling as soon as he saw, oh, right, I'm going sideways. I've got to get it stopped on a sixpence. He managed it. He managed it, though. So this is one of the beauties of the TSRC Rookie Series, that these drivers will find out firsthand around a circuit that's technical, really, really challenging. And when you're going at 245 kilometers an hour through Carboni at turn 11, you really are flirting with the barriers and a possible bit of damage that the car's going to need to have repaired, especially if it's terminal. But yeah, Craig Hewlett, that was save of the night so far.
Save from the BMW. The Audi now has the outside on the McLaren. This is Kagansky, who's going to try and make his way through the up and under. He's going to get the better exit, but there's oversteer on exit. And, well, if the BMW had the save for the night, that's definitely, Alex, a very close second.
That was definitely a bit too much, too many berries on the loud pedal there from Simon Gagansky, trying to get the up and over on Freddie Coleman Evans in the run for 8th position. We're coming down to the final 6.5 minutes of this race, and Lunatic Braga has a 3.1 second lead over Panhalo, with Dereco, Karasiak and Werner rounding out the top 5. One Lamborghini leading the way. I have to give it... No. The thing is, Nicolas Soro did not continue past lap number 4 of this race after having suffered that drive-through. Not too sure if he had any dramas afterwards, but this battle here between Coleman Evans and Gagansky is just absolutely brilliant, really enticing, and both drivers are doing their absolute utmost to get one up on the other. But at the moment, Coleman Evans has the number of Gagansky at this moment in time. Williams completes the top 10, but he has still been battling away with Craig Hewlett, who was leading before the end of the pit stop phase when he was the last one out of the 19 drivers that still currently circulate around this 4.226 kilometre, 2.626 mile, 16 turn circuit here at Misano. It's just been absolutely enthralling. Meantime, battle here for 14th place. Tomasz Klos versus Nikita Ronen. So BMW versus Ferrari. And Klos has got Ronen up the inside. Ronen gets through and was a little bit, I think used a lot of braking there just to sort of close the door very neatly there on Tomasz Klos. But Klos straight back up the inside, side check between the two as they went through turn number 15 and heading into turn 16 here at, well, not turn, it's not turns 15 and 16, but that's a little bit further back on the circuit. Ronen's using as much curb as he can, but Tomasz Klos stays ahead and keeps in 14th position. So BMW betters the Ferrari for the minute with 4.5 minutes to go on the timer. Gagansky down the start-finish straight, heading into Variante del Parco, still trying to put the frighteners on Freddie Coleman-Evans. The Audi's got the run through the first part of this complex, but the McLaren starts to stretch its legs through the mid-part as they head into the very tight double right-hander here at Curva del Rio. So hard on the brakes from the McLaren. Gigantski's going to use Coleman-Evans as a yardstick to measure his braking point. The McLaren again starts to stretch its legs. It's got a bit more torque than the Audi as they come out of the next left-hander and go on the mid-straights here on the run to Curva Quercia. A little bit of a wider approach from Coleman-Evans. Tighter line taken into the approach by Gigantski. Coleman-Evans drifts wide. That's going to give Gigantski the run coming out of that corner, heading into the next double left at Tramonto. You can just see that Coleman-Evans is doing an absolutely stellar job of holding off Gigantski for this 8th position.
He is. However, for how much longer can that McLaren keep the Audi behind? So, well, a couple of personal best lap times being set at the moment. They want 34.822 for the Recon 62 Porsche. He's in P3. Meanwhile, a move on the outside almost from the Audi driver Gigantski. Can't quite make it stick. However, at the front, the record is he's catching up to Panalo and Braga up front. However, that gap is 9.4 seconds to the leader. 4.5 seconds to Panalo. It is doable, but time is trickling away for him.
Lascia versus Pierre at this moment. This is for what is 16th position at the moment, and Pierre gets through. Braga's going to be now on his penultimate lap of this race, judging by the lap times they're setting. His last lap was 1:35.457. Nicolas Pierre, the old school racing number 69 Porsche, makes its way through Curvone. That's going to be in a big old rate of speed, and the race leader is not too far behind these two cars. This is 16th and 17th as Braga goes through Curvone at 240 kilometers an hour, as Gigantski swarming all over the back of Freddie Coleman-Evans once again, and goes round the outside. He's going to outbrake himself into the corner. Coleman-Evans drifts wide. That's completely off track by the number 22 Rocket RJN McLaren.
Oh, no.
And Gigantski finally gets through, and Uslan gets another drive-through. Another drive-through for the number 9, who's currently sitting in 12th position. But Gigantski and Coleman-Evans are not done yet. So there are going to be 2 more laps to go. We're on lap 18 out of 19. Braga's making his way into Variante del Parco. Uslan battling away with Craig Hewlett for 11th position. And Hewlett's keeping out of the way because he will know through the timing tower that Adrien Uslan has got a drive-through penalty as they surge their way through Curvone. And Hewlett's still keeping it round to the outside. Is he going to try it again? Oh, well, they both go off track. They both go off track. And that has allowed Valentin David to close on in. But Adrien Uslan, if he does not serve that drive-through by the checkered flag, that is an automatic 130-second instant slam dunk penalty that he'll be given post-race. But I think Craig Hewlett's done exactly the right thing. Just let Uslan go. We're into the final 60 seconds of the race. Leaders now coming through out of turn 10, which is Curva Tramonto. And now he's going to head towards Curvone at turn 11. Braga was on the outside of the front row alongside Nicolo Soro, and is at 255 kilometers an hour going through turn 12 before the braking zone into turn 13. Laurent Lefella battling away now. This is a brilliant effort from Stuart Pryor. He's got himself all the way up into 6th position through careful consistency, but also using the pit stop to a potential advantage. Leader now is going to go on to our final lap of this race as Panhalo's dropped it. Panhalo's dropped it going into the final corner at Curva Misano, and that is going to allow Dericourt, I think, to have just gotten through. Panhalo was in the barriers, and Dericourt's now up into P2. Final lap is underway as the timer counts down. We hit 0 on the clock. Gaussone Werner is in the pit lane and has been disqualified from the server. And that is drama for old school racing in multiple different ways. Valentin David battling away with Craig Hewlett. This is effectively the battle for what's going to be 11th on the road. David gets a little bit squirrely coming out of turn number 13. Hard on the brakes. Back end fishtails once again. As our leader now makes his way through Curva Quercia. Turn number 8. He's got ahead of him Robert Blanchard and Nicolas Pierre. They're battling away still for 14th position. Valentin David again gets a little bit twitchy coming out of Curva Misano. Usla has gone into the pit lane to serve the drive-through penalty, as our leader is now just 5 corners away, going past Robert Blanchard. And there they are into turn 12. Now turn 13. Robert Blanchard's got to watch himself right now. He outbrakes himself, keeps out of the back end of Lunatic Braga, who's now going to try and get past Tomasz Klose. Might do that before the final corner. Tomasz Klose will see the blue flags, but Lunatic Braga has done an absolutely stellar job, pitted with 4 minutes of the pit stop window still to go. The 48 Ferrari with the Austrian driver comes out of the final corner and wins the season opener here at Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, the pride of Sant'Agata Bolognese, takes a win on home soil. Kevin Deharcourt for Old School Racing takes third. Jonathan Pajalo brings his battered Porsche after clattering into the wall with a lap to go. And there's Laurent Laferla. Laurent Laferla's done exactly the same thing, and the front end of the BMW is absolutely mangled. That has allowed Stuart Pryor in the Aston Martin to take 5th behind Magic Karsiak, as we've got this great battle here. This is for 10th position. Laferla's going to... Oh, no! Valentin David goes into the back of Craig Hewlett that actually stops the car to try and let him go through. Oh, my goodness me. That is not what you want on the final lap of the race. We're going to have Dean Williams crossing the line in 9th. Valentin David was trying to be do the sportsmanship thing there, and actually has just slowed down. So Craig Hewlett comes out of the final corner. He might have run wide down to Curva Misano and takes P10. Valentin David takes 11th. It's going to be Adrien Usla very shortly, who's going to be taking 12th position. There's Thomas Klose behind Robert Blanchard. So Craig Hewlett takes 10th, waiting for Simon Gaganski. I think that is Gaganski actually just up ahead, possibly in the Audi. No, it's not. It's Blanchard in the BMW. But yeah, Valentin David, Adrien Usla, Nikita Rosin. Then we had Nicolas Pierrat rounding at the top 13. Tomasz Klose will take 14th, ahead of Robert Blanchard. Good job by Catherine Rosie to keep out of harm's way and take 16th ahead of Adam Brown. And yeah, it's not been a good one for Gaston Werner because he's also been disqualified. 16 made it to the checkered out of 23, but what a way to start off the Sim Racing Collective second season of the Rookie Series here, Dan, with Lunatic Braga winning by 7.5 seconds here at Misano.
You almost would have forgotten that Maciej Karasiak in the Aston Martin number 63, he came from all the way down the order. He came all the way from P10, if I'm not wrong. And that's just a great performance, especially if you saw how far he was off in that Aston Martin. That Aston Martin, plus the BMW of Liveria, really came into its own in race pace, and it's good to see that maybe on one lap pace, yes, it was Lamborghini, and yes, it was Porsche, but in the race, every manufacturer was in with a shot at that win.
Yes, indeed, and it was Lamborghini that triumphed on home soil at Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli for the opening round of the Sim Racing Collective Rookie Series here at Misano. It's been an exciting first round. A big thank you, as always, to Track Titan for their support of this championship. They're a tool that helps analyse drivers' performance with automated insights, and it's also a tool that's being used this season to help the rookie drivers improve, and they will be also rewarding them for completing laps in all sessions. Lamborghini triumphant on home soil here at Misano, but next week we go to the iconic Ardennes Forest, to the fearsome 7.004 kilometre circuit known simply as Spa-Francorchamps in just a week's time. A big thank you to Kieran behind the scenes doing all the camera work, so myself and Dan have been able to provide our insight and commentary over the course of what's been a fantastic evening. Dan, any final words before we close things off?
Well, I think an amazing opener of the season. Someone that I think finished further down the order than we will see for the rest of the season, Uslein. I think he will be, for the rest of the season, he'll be trying to play a catch-up game to either Braga or anyone at the top. But so far, I think we couldn't have wished for a better opening of the season.
Indeed, that's it from my comrade in arms, Dan Pepels, myself, Alex Goldschmidt, Kieran behind the scenes and the cameras. That's it for the opening round of the Sim Racing Collective Rookie Series Season 2 season opener here at Misano. Join us on the 31st of May as we head to the iconic Ardennes Forest at Spa-Francorchamps. Until then, keep it pinned and we'll see you next time. Good night.